We are here today with Ava Ward, whose website, by the way, is absolutely wonderful because it says right at the top, decadent paranormal romance, which is fun. So tell
Thanks.
us a little bit about yourself and what you're working on at the moment. We'll get into your other books.
Yeah, so hi everybody. My name is Ava, and I write decadent paranormal romance. I'm currently working on a series that's sort of my flagship series. Right now, it's called The Royal Dragon Shifters of Morocco, and it's going to have
Oh,
nine. Yeah, it's very fun. It is a steamy paranormal fantasy romance with reverse harem dragon shifters, and there's a huge fantasy element, lots of world building, but
ooh,
also, all the fun relationship stuff that romance readers like too.
ooh. And why Morocco? I mean, great fun, but that's not
Yeah.
one I see all that often.
I'm fascinated by desert culture. And so I
Hmm.
really wanted to write a novel series that embraced that aspect of like, how would dragons live, like dragon shifters live if they came from a desert culture? What sort
Oh,
of,
ooh.
society would they have? What sort of powers would they have? I've loved living in the high desert all my life, although I've lived in the United States in the high desert. But that was something that kind of prompted my mind to get this whole series rolling.
Yeah, ooh, ooh, that would be fascinating. Fun
Yeah,
to build, I bet.
yeah, definitely. Hugely fun to build. What kind of, fire would they use in the desert and what kind of blocking spells and all that kind of stuff. And romance, of course, is very hot and spicy out where it is hot and spicy constantly.
Well, I mean, that is sort of a bit of required by the genre.
Yeah, definitely.
Ooh, fun. All right, so how many books are in this series?
So there's going to be 9 books total. So I come from writing epic fantasy originally. And
Hmm.
so this has a very epic fantasy feel to it, even though it's like solidly in the romance genre. So
Sure.
there'll be 9 books. I just finished, book 7 just came out about a week ago. And I'm finished writing book 8, and book 9 is soon to come. So those will be spaced out over the rest of the summer, probably wrapped up by September.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Very exciting. And
Yeah.
now I know that the epic fantasy tradition is to write a series that has a story that overarches all of the books, whereas the romance tradition is to
Mhm.
have standalone with similar characters. And
Yeah.
I assume this is probably somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, so this follows the main characters throughout the entire series. So
Okay.
rather than standalones, like you could read them as standalones, so each one is kind of episodic, but
Hmm.
it's like a whole series of a TV show. So it follows
Oh,
the same
okay.
characters all the way through. So the main character is named Layla Price, and she originally comes from Seattle, but she finds out she's been living in the human world her whole life, but she finds out she's actually a dragon shifter, taken from the Fey realm where the dragon shifters live. That's
Ooh.
basically like a near universe adjacent to ours. That's heavily
Okay, sure.
influenced by ours, and then raised as a human. And
Ah,
so, yeah,
I would imagine that would make things a little bit difficult if all of a sudden, magic and then,
right.
fire and things.
Right.
Ooh.
Yeah. And she's this kind of temper, she's had a temper all her life, and she's a very strong female, character. And so she's finally finding out why she's had this tempestuousness and passion, all her life.
Fun.
Very fun.
Fun. Okay. Okay, great. So is there an overarching like problem that needs to be solved, or is it just her coming to grips with the new reality that she faces?
So she finds out in over the course of the first 2 books that she was taken away from the Fey realm because she was being hunted by
Ah,
this incredibly powerful, old dragon. He's been around for thousands of years, and he wants to use her magic for his agenda. So when this
ah.
baby was born, he started going after her, and so she was taken away by her mother to live as a
Mm-hmm.
human in the
Mm-hmm.
human world. So she finally meets some other dragons who come to find her in book 1 and introduce her back into the Fey realm
Aha.
and tell her
Okay.
she has magic, and it starts to open up.
Yeah.
And
And
then the bad guy comes calling.
oh no.
Oh no.
Yes, but it makes the series so fun to read, even if it is
Yeah,
terrible for the characters.
totally. Yeah. And I try to keep a lot of hope in the series. It's both fantasy that is epic in style and romance. So there's a
Yeah.
lot of love and light. There's a lot of hope. Even when things twist and turn because of the bad guy's involvement, it always stays on a positive angle so that people get those, happily for now endings that they want in a romance series.
Yeah, that is useful.
Yeah.
Useful to have. Ooh, yes. Fun.
Yeah.
Very fun. Okay, so 9 books, most of which are already out.
Mhm.
By the time this video comes out, I think that you said it'll be complete.
Yeah, they should
Yeah.
all be out by the end of September. So,
Okay.
and there's a box set that I released also for the first 3 books.
Oh,
People can get those on special, and that should still be running by October also.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay. What's next then? Or have you not gotten that far?
Oh my gosh, so many things are next. I have a whole list.
I know that feeling
Whole list,
well.
yes. Um, so I also narrate my own audiobooks. I have
Oh,
a history in
cool.
opera performance, so I use, vocal skills and do my own narration, which is super fun.
Fun.
I love it.
Fun.
Yeah, so
Ooh.
I'm going to be doing all of the audiobooks for this series, narrating them myself. So I'm going to start that once the series is complete. So that'll probably be in the fall, I'll be making all the audiobooks. And then after that, I have a second series that I'm planning that'll probably be 6 books. It's set in the same near universe world that like overlaps with ours,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be about vampires and archangels, like master
Oh.
vampires and archangels, which I introduce in this series. There's a couple characters that are involved, but it's not the focus. Like this series
Mm-hmm.
focuses dragon shifters, but we're
Okay.
going to switch to angels and demons and vampires for the next one.
And more world building.
Yes, lots of
Oh,
building. Yeah.
so much fun.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah. Ooh.
excited.
Well,
Yeah.
that'll be exciting. Okay, narrating your own audiobooks. That sounds really cool, but I'm also a little bit like that prospect is a little sounds a little overwhelming a bit.
Yes. It is totally overwhelming and very time consuming, but I
Uh-huh.
love it. I love the whole vocal aspect of vocal performance and singing, and that's, my roots. That's where I came from. So it's nice to be able to use all those skills and do the character voices and, pronounce the words like I heard them in my head. And
Oh
I,
yeah.
I find that readers appreciate that. So it's
Yes.
good
The
fun.
pronunciation's always fun,
Yes.
especially with fantasy.
Totally. Yeah, all those long, weird fantasy words with all the strange inflections. You're like, hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I've listened to a couple of audiobooks that have not been narrated by the author, and
Uh-huh.
having read it and then hearing it pronounced, I'm like,
Like, oh, that's how they say it.
yeah.
Yeah, what was it? Quothy, from, oh, what's his name? I'm blanking on it right now. Wise Man's Fear. Have you read that
I
one?
haven't.
Oh, so good. But the main character's name, I'm just like, I have no idea how to pronounce his name.
No, that's the worst.
Yeah.
Yeah, those glosses in the back of the books that have, okay, here's the language, here's
Yeah,
how you pronounce it. I love
I
those.
love those. Those are so
So
great.
fun.
Yes,
Yeah.
totally.
Ah, fantasy.
Yay.
Wonderful genre. Many small little details to figure out.
Yes, it's like a constant web inside my mind of just like all of those little pieces you have to keep track of because you made
Hmm.
them up. Like they don't exist in the real world. So
Right.
it's just like writing out huge long dossiers of information. Like, okay, this is what this place looked like, and the magical systems and keeping everything consistent. It's a big
Uh-huh.
challenge.
It's hard.
Yeah.
So you have many documents. Do you have like I don't know what they call it? Oh, the series Bible, or do you do just
Yeah.
notes?
I do. I use the program Scrivener to do my writing, which is such a huge help. I love it. And I keep notes all along the way. So I keep like special document files for each series that I'm working on, of, who all the characters are, what they look like, all the magical systems, how they function,
Hmm.
pertinent details of the world, what locations look like, all that kind of stuff, along with the overarching plot. And
Yeah.
any details that I need to remember to like bring the whole series to a conclusion at the end, like important little gems and plot points and stuff.
The threads that have
Yeah.
to be tied.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah,
Those are the tricky ones.
those are the tricky ones, and they slip away from me so fast, so I have to like get them all down on my document.
Oh, it should be
Yeah.
fun though when you get to finally get everything brought together.
Yes. Yes, I
Oof.
love that part. I love it when, like, there's a feeling that I get as an author when everything, it's kind of been branching out and out and out for the first half of a series, and then you
Yeah.
start pulling all of those threads like back together
Hmm.
for the second part of the series, and the final book, the conclusion, is always the funnest because you get to
Gonna be
weave all of that
dramatic.
like tightly into the climax, and
Hmm.
it's great.
Hmm. Oof, yours is gonna be very dramatic.
Yay!
It
I
should
think
be
so.
fun.
There'll be a lot of epic dragon battles, which is always great.
Those are hard to write though.
Yes. Yeah, because you have to describe, how their wings are moving or how they're lashing with their tail and what magic is flying around. And you have to keep all the different characters like in the scene and not forget anybody.
Right, right.
They're all
Ooh,
important.
yeah. Ooh, epic
Yeah.
battles. All right, that should be extra fun.
Yes.
Ah, yes. All right. So now I'm gonna look at your website again because I thought
Yeah.
there was something else on there that I missed, but I'm not entirely sure what it was that I saw. So,
I don't know.
did you have any other books out, or are those the ones that you've got so far?
Those are the ones that I have so far for this line. I also write epic fantasy though under the name Jean Lo Carlson. So I have a
Oh,
whole
okay.
separate line of books that are epic fantasy novels. But
Okay.
it's I kind of write on one series for a while and then I go back to the other series and when my mind needs a break from one
Yeah.
storyline.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
always fun when you get focused on something and then why isn't this working? And you need
Hmm.
to go do something else. Yeah, I know the
Exactly.
feeling. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well,
Yes.
how is it marketing both? Because they're sort of similar
Uh,
genres, so you don't have to worry too much about trying to figure out the different strategies, but I
mhm.
imagine it's not quite so easy.
It can be a challenge. I started in epic fantasy and I love it. And I've read epic
Hmm.
fantasy since I was very little, starting with Tolkien, of course, like kind of where everyone starts. But like, I also discovered fantasy romance and paranormal romance in my teens, and I've just
Hmm.
loved both genres my whole life.
Right.
So I started writing in one, and then I was like, but I really want to do some like deeper romance novels and like get into those juicy relationships and have some fun
Hmm.
with it. So I
Hmm.
started writing the romance stuff as well. And I have to market them separately, really.
Hmm.
I mean, because epic fantasy is it's so grand in scale and it's so much bigger with the world building and the amount of characters that are involved and it really appeals to a broad range of audiences, men and
Hmm.
women, old and young. There's quite a huge spread of readership there.
Hmm.
Whereas with the romance novels, it's very much, focused on women primarily. I do have some male readers, but not that many.
Hmm.
And the focus is on relationship building. So even though there's a ton of fantasy element and world building, it's about the character interactions at the end of the day
Right.
for
Yeah.
romance. And so
Which,
it's
yeah.
some overlap in audience, but not a whole lot.
Sorry, she's now trying to eat
Yay!
me.
Because humans are tasty. Yum. I love it.
So much help.
Yes,
But it
of course.
sounds really right in the middle of a question, dear.
Kitty helps.
Well, now she's gonna rub her face on the microphone, which isn't working either. Okay.
Perfect.
So your paranormal romance sounds a little bit more intricate than a lot of the ones I've seen, though. So I imagine that makes an extra step in building your audience. Because,
Absolutely.
I mean,
Yes.
I've seen lots of different ones out there with multiple books in the series, but nothing that
Mhm.
has such a large story over so many books.
Yes. And, I think it really makes my books unique from a lot of the stuff that's out there. It's
Hmm.
less episodic and more with that whole overarching story. So the readership that I've attracted for that, people love having a really big story to jump into. But that's not every paranormal romance reader. You know, some people just want a quick book that they can read in half a day and enjoy, and not have to keep all the details in their mind from book to book, or reread the ones that came at the beginning, like when the new one comes out. So I try to keep it a lot simpler than epic fantasy, so there's not as much to, like, you know, run through in your brain constantly, but it's also the deepening of those relationships over 9 books is really what I love. And so I like to write it all the way through, because that way you get to see how these characters are changing and how they're responding to each other and maturing. And that to me is the magic. And the readers that really get into the stories love that deepening. Yeah.
Sounds like fun, frankly.
Yeah. Oh, thanks. I enjoy it. I have a great time writing them.
Well, that's always kind of the point. I mean, we wouldn't be doing this if we didn't enjoy it.
Exactly.
Of course, there's always a least favorite part of the whole writing, publishing, etc. process. Yeah. So what's yours?
Oh man, proofreading. I'm terrible at proofreading.
Oh, yeah.
I'm glad I have a lot of help with it, because I just I read for plot points and world consistency. Like when I go back through a manuscript, I just am not paying attention to the proofreading.
Well, every book I've ever read, and it doesn't matter traditional or indie, you know, super fantastic in scale or like really small, every book I've ever read has at least one typo. Gets through
somewhere. Yeah, somewhere. It's like one little Easter egg in there.
Sometimes more, sometimes less, but it's just every book.
Yep.
So I understand.
Kind of unavoidable. Yeah.
No, proofreading is obviously not just you, and it's not just me.
Totally. Yeah, I'm
a little bit comforting.
Plenty of other authors out there that are feeling our pain right now. I love it.
Yeah. Oh. It's always problematic though when I read my own books after it's published and I go, "Oh no, I missed one."
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and then you're like, "Wait, do I re-upload that right now to Amazon with a correction? Or do I wait and see if there are more that I missed?"
No. No. That sounds even worse. Yeah. No, thank you.
Nope. That's why I get help for all the reading.
Editors and proofreaders.
Many eyes to
so helpful.
Over. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, what fun. All right. So you said you've read a bunch of the paranormal fantasy, romance type piece, and I'm not going to focus on the epic fantasy because that's a whole different conversation. But is there an author out there that you've read that you've loved, whose abilities you'd like to steal to improve your own work?
Oh man, there's 2 authors that I've sort of historically loved over my whole lifetime. I've read a bunch of stuff that they've written. One is Anne Rice. Whom I adore. A lot of her writing. It's just so vivid and lush, and her characters are so well realized on the page. Like they just, like her writing to me just like pops.
Yeah.
You know, it feels so real and so vivid, even if she's writing a character that's totally nuts and off the wall. You're like, okay, that was horrific and gruesome, and it was so beautifully written.
That was amazing.
I can't stop reading.
Yeah.
So that's one author I've respected, you know, my whole life. And then I have really loved the Anita Blake series by Laurel K. Hamilton for a very long time.
Okay.
And that series gets a lot of flack from people because she kind of she started it as almost like a crime noir. You know, it's this supernatural lady who can raise the dead. She's a necromancer.
Sure.
And then she, you know, goes on to meet vampires and werewolves and form a harem. It's kind of where reverse harem came from, one of the series that started that whole genre. But the people who love her earlier books that are very like crime thriller don't like the later books that are
Oh,
very like reverse harem oriented. But I
right.
thought it was really fascinating watching the series mature over a number of books. I don't know how many she has out now, or more than 20, I think, for that series.
Gosh, I've never heard of her. I feel like I should have done, but
Yeah, she's been writing a long time. I think since the 90s, maybe.
okay.
Yeah,
Huh.
traditionally published.
I'll have to look at those because
Yeah.
for some reason many of the large books in the genre go like right over my head. And I'm like, oh, it exists?
Yeah.
Oops.
I feel that way too sometimes. Like I miss out on really big series that I'm like, oh, dang, I should have read that by now. Like
Yeah.
the latest one that I was kicking myself for not reading yet is the what's the one with the vampire and the witch and uh Discovery of Witches. That
Oh.
I
Oh, I've
haven't read
heard
yet.
of that one, but I haven't read it either.
Yeah,
Oh,
I need to get to
so
that one.
many books out
Because now
there.
it's a TV series. And I'm like, I want to
Yeah.
watch the TV series too.
Oh, it's a TV series. I'm even worse at television series.
I love it.
Yeah, no, I try. I really do, but I'm not very good at it. The whole television thing just
Hmm.
goes right over my head and I miss it completely.
I
And then
feel
some
you.
years down the road, I'm like, oh, wow, I just discovered this.
That was a
Oh,
thing?
it's been a thing for a while now. Okay.
Yeah, I feel that way with TV too sometimes. Like there are some months that I get into it and like I'll watch a series all the way through, but it's
Mhm.
been 6 years, since it
Mhm.
started, and so I just watch it on Netflix and watch the whole
Right.
thing. But there are other things that I just miss completely that end up being a social phenomenon, and I'm like, well, I don't know. Never saw it.
Yep, that sounds about right. That
Yeah.
sounds exactly right.
Hmm.
Oh, the problems with being a bookish person.
Yes, totally. It's too many books to read, too little
I
time.
know. Yeah, the TBR list. Oh, it never ends.
Yes, absolutely. It just grows
Mhm.
like a
Mhm.
hydra.
That is a terrifying thought and a perfect analogy. It's so true. Oh, because you get one, okay. And especially if it's the first in a series. Oh, wow, that was
Yeah,
great. And now I have seven to read.
yeah. And then you discover a whole new author that you love, and then you look
Mhm.
through their entire catalog, and you're like, oh, I would read that series, and that one, and that one, and that one.
Okay, so many more series to come, potentially. You're going to start
Hmm.
with Vampires and Archangels. Are
Hmm.
you going to venture elsewhere, or are you just going to stick with the same world for a long time?
I don't know. I have so many ideas that I could roll into this world. Like
Oh.
I've thought of a whole series of standalone paranormal beach romances that would involve
Oh.
sirens and mermaids that are also a part of this world. And
Uh-huh.
and they run like, coastal restaurants and coastal Airbnbs and that kind of stuff. Like some of them are hiding out in the human world. So like there are some fun little short series that I could do that way. I do have maybe 5 follow-up novels in my head to the Dragon series,
Uh-oh.
just of, kind of what are their lives like after they're done fighting the big bad evil. So that could continue also. I also have a whole series of sci-fi romance that's
Oh.
still kind of in the planning stage right now, but it's something
Uh-huh.
that I would love to roll out eventually. So
Yeah. Well, that's entirely
kind of
different
thinking of
from
that.
the paranormal romance world.
Very, very. Yeah, and I don't know if that world would overlap with the fantasy fae, near universe that I'm writing on right now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there might be a way to tie it in, but we'll see. It would
Well, you
be
can.
mostly like off-planet
Sure.
exploration. Yeah.
Sure. Ooh, fun.
Yeah.
And so many things to do.
I know. So little time. And it's just like, how fast can I write in a day? Or like, how much can I get done?
Never enough,
Yes,
I think is the answer.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So what does your writing process look like over an average day?
I try to be flexible with my writing process. So I I have weeks where I'm just super inspired and I just write from morning to evening. I make sure that I work 8 hours a day on
Mm-hmm.
weekdays, and then I
Mm-hmm.
take the weekends off generally and evenings so I can be with my family and, hang out with the cat and that kind of stuff. So, but I do like set my work hours very religiously and make sure that I'm working during that time.
Mm-hmm.
Some weeks, if I have a launch coming up, it means I have to just spend most of my time on marketing because that's just what it is. But there are other weeks once the launch is over that I can just deep dive into writing. So
Mm-hmm.
there are some days I'll write 8 hours a day and get 10,000 words out in a day.
Wow.
I just go, 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 go until I'm exhausted, like pouring that manuscript out onto the page. Um, I have written a book before in like a week and a half. That was crazy.
Wow.
I don't recommend it, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, if I'm really like on fire about a plot line and I have all my like plot points mapped out for the series, then I can just like go. And that's pretty
Wow.
fun.
A week and a half. I
Yeah,
mean, I would be absolutely exhausted by the end, but
yes,
wow, that's
yeah.
impressive.
It's a total brain drain, but it's also like a wonderful sense of accomplishment to
Mm-hmm.
to get something out that quickly. But then there's all the editing that goes into it. Like every single one of my books gets no fewer than 6 rounds of editing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just over and over and over again. Like that's the part that takes the longest for me.
Yeah,
Just,
well, it always
refining
does.
all the details. Yeah, like bringing it all together, make sure the language flows nicely, all that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Editing is an art form.
Yes, definitely. And I found that like over the course of my career as an author, my ability to self-edit my work has really matured. So like
Mm-hmm.
I've been writing since 2012, more or
Mm-hmm.
less, and the stuff at the very beginning will never be published because it's just there's no saving it really.
I have a few things like that, yeah.
Yeah, it's like really cool ideas, but it just like the writing was so, strange and like jilted that no matter how much you edit it, it's just not getting any better.
That requires a full-on, complete rewrite.
Yes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
More time than I have, I think, trying to
I
put out
know.
all these new ideas.
Yeah, I know the feeling quite
Hmm.
well.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, so generally speaking, though, how many, um, hold on, words. How long does it take you to actually get your books up to snuff?
So right now it's taking me about 2 months for the full production of a book. That's from starting writing word one to all the way through all the editing phases and the proofreading, and then getting it out to my ARC team, my launch team,
Mm-hmm.
to read and review,
Mm-hmm.
and then launch day. So
Yeah.
I'm able to write about 6 books a year right now and get them out.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot slower for epic fantasy, obviously, because those books
Well,
are just
yeah.
much bigger and much more complicated and that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
for the romance, it goes pretty quickly. And so,
Okay.
yeah,
Fun.
generally, if it, I'm planning kind of like 6 book series in the future, so I should be able to get them out within a calendar year.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm. And then, of course, you have to work on the epic fantasy on the side or
yes.
simultaneously, I guess.
Yes. Yeah, right now I'm trying to take like breaks in between the romance novels to just, like write three romance books, take a month off and work on the epic fantasy and then
Mm-hmm.
go back to the romance. And after this series is done, I'm going to take I think a 3-month break probably from writing romance and really focus on getting my plot outlines for my next epic fantasy series like really solid.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be ready to.
Yeah, and that'll take you all the way through the end of the year, and then we're hopefully into a year not quite so crazy as this.
Hopefully. Yeah, I know this has been a doozy. Like the one upside of quarantine is that I've had a lot of time to write because it's like,
Sure,
a lot
sure.
fewer social engagements and I'm a natural introvert, so I'm just like, okay, this is great. La 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 la.
Yeah, and somehow the world is still going crazy
Oh,
outside around us. It's amazing.
no, it's amazing. I think the biggest challenge right now is just staying steady, like staying
Hmm.
centered in ourselves and how to not get caught up in all the drama, but just be aware and, participating as we can. But like
Yeah.
how do we keep ourselves steady when there's so much explosiveness happening at the moment? There's
Yeah.
only so much off kilter you can get before you have to, just pull back a little and go like, okay, how do I nourish myself? How do I take care of myself on a daily basis? And
Hmm.
bring that like centered energy back to the world instead of
Yeah.
like chaos.
Yes. Well, I have found that writing chaotic books at the moment tends to be
Mhm.
easier than writing things are going well books.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, it's been kind of a challenge for me because these books are very hopeful in tone, the Royal Dragon series.
Yeah.
The overall series is all about love and light and joy and coming together and, the strength of a
Hmm.
relationship
Hmm.
between people. And so, I have to really step away from social media and that kind of thing and almost completely
Oh,
to
really?
put myself in a space of love and light to write
Hmm.
in that
Hmm.
way.
Yeah,
Hmm.
those are great books to read right now, but very hard to write.
Hmm. Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah, it's
there's
hard to not be distracted by, all the intensity that's
yeah,
happening.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if you can take that time and relax and kind of block out the world a little bit,
Hmm.
then it seems like it's working for you.
Yeah, and in my opinion, it's worth doing. I think a lot of people are struggling right now to stay in a brighter side of energy and in a brighter place in themselves. And
Hmm.
so I think as artists, like helping to provide some joy right now and help people stay motivated or stay a little bit lighter so they can get through their day is well worth doing. And
Yeah,
it just
absolutely.
yeah, it just brightens my heart every time I hear from a reader and they're like, oh my gosh, your book got me through this tense time or something and it was such a joy to read, or just helped me escape a little bit from all the crazy shit that's happening out there right now.
It
Yeah.
is that, and on the bright side, we are more than halfway through the year, so we're getting closer. Who knows what next year is going to bring?
Yeah,
I'm
right.
trying to I'm trying
Hopefully
to
better.
think positive. It's only 1 year that we're gonna have these problems, and then
Yeah.
next year it'll be better.
Yeah. Yeah, there's something funny. Somebody was like, "Okay, who like started the Jumanji game this year? Like, just stop. Just like put that thing away."
Yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, I'm fond of history, and so I have read that the 1920s and the 1820s were both terrible decades.
Yeah,
That
really
doesn't set a great
challenging.
historical precedent for the 2020s.
Really challenging. Yeah. Okay. But
Mm,
on the brighter side of things, I think it needed to be, the world situation needed to be shook up a little. Like
yes,
we
absolutely.
had to stare some of these really ugly hidden truths like in the face of
Hmm.
like how the world has been functioning for a long time. But there's a lot of systems that are pretty broken right now, and
Hmm.
we're seeing it, and everybody has a camera now, so we can all record it. Yeah,
Yeah, I think I think that's always almost a little bit too overwhelming, which is why
yeah,
books are a great place to
books
escape.
are very nice. Yes.
Hmm.
Mm.
All right, well, it's been absolutely fantastic talking with you. Your
Yeah,
series sounds
likewise.
super fun.
Thank you.
Is there anything else you'd like to add, writing related or otherwise?
Um, Not really. Just if people are interested in my work, they can find me online at avawardromance.com.
Hmm.
And if the books are only on Amazon, they're Amazon exclusive, so you can search for them on Amazon. And Royal Dragon Shifters of Morocco is the series, and that's it.
And I will be sure to include all of these links in the description box when this video actually goes live
Awesome.
because time travel.
Hey, I love it.